In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make these really easy, reusable cotton face scrubbies. Start off with puff stitches, and this is the matching washcloth that goes with the face scrubbies. So what I'm going to do in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make the face scrubbies or makeup remover pads, and then in the next tutorial I will show you how to make the matching washcloth. And you can see the matching washcloth, I have a purple one. That's what it looks like in a solid color. And this is what it looks like if you use two colors. And then these little face scrubbies, I did one with all white, so that's what it looks like with the solid color. Then I did one with white in the center, purple, and white on the trim. And then this one I did with purple, white, and purple on the trim. And I think it's nice when you make a set of face scrubbies to kind of just make them all a little bit different, but using the same colors. So with this set, I decided to use two colors, white and purple. So they all go together and coordinate, but I think it looks nice when you change the color combinations a little bit, but still using the same color, so everything goes together and looks really nice. After I finished this washcloth, I realized this would make a great granny square too if you wanted to do this with acrylic yarn. So this would work if you make it with cotton as a washcloth, but this would also make a really nice granny square. So you could definitely do that. You could use the same pattern for this washcloth for a granny square. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make these face scrubbies, and then in the next tutorial I'll show you how to make the matching washcloth. So we're going to start off with a magic ring. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and chain two more. So we want to start off with a chain of 3, and since we already had that chain or that loop when we did the magic ring, there's our 3 chains, and that's going to count as our first double crochet. And we're going to do a double crochet into the center of the magic ring, and then chain 1, and then we're going to work a puff stitch into the center of the magic ring. And for the puff stitch, we're going to yarn over 4 times and insert a hook into the magic ring 4 times and pull up a loop 4 times. Do yarn over, insert a hook into the center of the magic ring, pull up a loop, and then stretch that loop up to match the height of the double crochet, and then yarn over a second time, insert our hook into the magic ring, yarn over and pull up a loop, and stretch it up, yarn over a third time, insert your hook into the magic ring, pull up a loop, and then we're going to do that one more time for a 4th time, yarn over, insert your hook into the magic ring, pull up a loop, and then you're going to have 9 loops on your hook. So then you're going to do yarn over and pull through all 9 loops, and then we're going to yarn over and then pull through that loop to close up your puff stitch, and that completes your puff stitch. And then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do 2 double crochets into the center of the magic ring, and then we're going to do another puff stitch into the center of the magic ring. So yarn over, insert your hook into the magic ring, pull up a loop, yarn over a second time, insert your hook into the magic ring, pull up a loop, yarn over a third time, insert your hook into the magic ring, pull up a loop, yarn over a 4th time, insert your hook into the magic ring, pull up a loop, and then you should have 9 loops on your hook. And then you're going to do yarn over and you're going to pull through all 9 loops, and then yarn over and pull through the loop to close up your puff stitch. And then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do 2 double crochets into the center of the magic ring, and we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do a puff stitch again. We're going to do yarn over, insert a hook into the magic ring, pull up a loop, yarn over a second time, insert a hook into the magic ring, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull up a loop. So we did the yarn over and pulled up a loop 4 times. We're going to do yarn over and pull through all 9 loops, and then yarn over and pull through the loop to close up your puff stitch. And then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do 2 double crochets into the center of the magic ring. We want to have 4 puff stitches. We have 3 so far, so we did 2 double crochets, so we're going to do a chain 1, and then we're going to work our 4th puff stitch. Remember, we're going to do 4 yarn overs and pull up 4 loops. yarn over, insert the hook into the magic ring, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop. So that was 4 times that we did that. And then we're going to yarn over and pull through all 9 loops. And then yarn over, pull through the loop to close up your puff stitch. Okay, and then we're going to chain 1. And what we want to have here is we want to have 4 puff stitches and 4 groups of the 2 double crochets, since we're counting that first chain 3 as a double crochet. So when we just did our 4th puff stitch and did a chain 1, so now we're going to join with the slip stitch to that top chain. We started the round, join with the slip stitch, and then we're going to pull the tail of this magic ring to close up that center circle. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch in between the 2 double crochets. So here's that's the chain 3. It was actually a chain 2 because we already had a loop from the magic ring. And then that was that 2nd double crochet. So what we want to do is we want to slip stitch into the center here, in between the stitches. And then we're going to chain 3. And this chain 3 will count as the first double crochet for this 2nd round. Okay, and then we're going to find the next chain 1 space right after this double crochet just before the puff stitch. And we're going to do 2 double crochets into that chain 1 space just before the puff stitch. So after doing the chain 3, you just skip the double crochet and work 2 double crochets into that chain 1 space before that puff stitch. And then we're not going to chain 1 or anything. We're going to find the next space after the puff stitch. So that's that chain 1 space after the puff stitch before the next 2 double crochets. And we are going to work 2 double crochets into that chain 1 space. And then here's the 2 double crochets. We're going to work a double crochet in between the 2 double crochets. So we're not inserting the hook into the top of the double crochet stitches. We're finding the space right in between the 2 double crochets, and then we're going to work a double crochet into that space. And then we're going to find the next chain 1 space just before the next puff stitch. So we're skipping this double crochet here. Here's the chain 1 space before the next puff stitch, and we're going to do 2 double crochets into that chain 1 space. And then we're not going to work into the top of the puff stitch. We're just going to skip right over that. Find the chain 1 space right after the puff stitch before the 2 double crochets. So right in that space after the puff stitch, we're going to do 2 double crochets. And then you're going to find the space in between the 2 double crochets. So we're not inserting the hook into the top of the double crochets. We're actually inserting the hook in between, so lower than the top of the stitch. So right in between the 2 stitches, and we're going to do a double crochet. So what we're doing here is we're doing 2 double crochets before the puff stitch and after the puff stitch, and working a single double crochet in between the groups of 2 double crochets from the previous round. Okay, so we just did a double crochet in between those 2 double crochets from round 1. So we're skipping this double crochet, the next, and then you'll see a chain 1 space just before the next puff stitch. So we're going to work 2 double crochets into that chain 1 space. Okay, so then we're going to skip the puff stitch, and then in that chain 1 space after the puff stitch, we're going to do 2 double crochets into that same chain 1 space. And then we're going to skip the next double crochet. We're not going to work into the top of the double crochets. We're going to insert a hook lower than that. So we're going to do yarn over, insert our hook into the space between the 2 double crochets, lower than the top of the stitch, in other words. Do yarn over, and we're working the double crochet in between the 2 double crochets. So we're not inserting the hook into that double crochet. We're inserting a hook lower than the top of the stitch, right in between the 2 double crochets, and we're going to do a double crochet, a single double crochet. And then there's a chain 1 space before the next puff stitch. We're going to do 2 double crochets into that chain 1 space. And then in that skip the puff, and then find the chain one space after the puff stitch and do 2 double crochets. Then we're going to join with a slip stitch to the top of that chain 3 that we did when we began the round. Okay, and that completes round 2. And this face scrubby only takes 4 rounds to complete. There'll be 3 rounds, and the 4th round will be the edging that you see here. Okay, so for round 3, we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do a single crochet right back into that same stitch where we just joined. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do 1 single crochet in every single stitch around, working in only the back loops. And you want to work this round pretty loosely. You don't want to have your tension too tight when you do this round. And if you find that you are working your stitches too tightly when you work this round, you can definitely go up a crochet hook size. That way your tension won't be too tight when you work these single crochets in round 3. Okay, so I did 1 single crochet in every single stitch around. Then I'm going to join with a slip stitch to that first single crochet that we did when we began the round, and when I do my slip stitch. So that completes round 3. So now for round 4, that's going to be the last round, and that's going to be the round where we work the edging for our face scrubby. Okay, so to begin round 4, okay, so we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do a single crochet into that same stitch where we just joined. Then we're going to do a slip stitch into this next stitch, and then into the next stitch we're going to do a single crochet and a slip stitch into the same stitch, and we're working in just the back loops only. And then into this very next stitch we're just going to do a slip stitch. The next stitch we're going to do a single crochet and a slip stitch into the same stitch, and then we're going to do a slip stitch into the next stitch, and we're working in just the back loops for this round 4 as well. And then the next stitch we're going to do a single crochet and a slip stitch into the same stitch. Next stitch a slip stitch only. Next stitch a single crochet and a slip stitch into the same stitch. And then we're going to do a slip stitch into the next stitch. Next stitch we'll have a single crochet and a slip stitch into the same stitch. So you can see what we're doing here. What we're doing is we're alternating between doing a single crochet and a slip stitch into the same stitch, and then just a slip stitch into the next, and then the next stitch has 2 stitches. It will have a single crochet and a slip stitch. Next stitch will only have a slip stitch, and then the next stitch will have a single crochet and a slip stitch into the same stitch, and we're going to do that all the way around. So this one here was the single crochet and slip stitch, so the next stitch a slip stitch. Next stitch will have a single crochet and a slip stitch, and I'm just going to go ahead and do that all the way around. And I'm working just in the back loops. When you do round 3 and round 4, you do want to work with your tension a little bit loosely, and you don't want to work your stitches too tightly. If you find that you have a hard time working the stitches loosely, then all you need to do is to go up 1 size on your crochet hook when you do round 3 and round 4, and that will help you keep your tension loose and not work the stitches too tightly. Okay, and this last one is going to be a slip stitch. Okay, so now we're done with round 4, so I'm just going to go ahead and insert my hook into the next stitch and join with a slip stitch. And I'm going to cut the yarn here to fasten off. I'm going to go ahead and yarn over and pull that through until it ends. I'm going to weave in the ends. Okay, and then I'm going to bring it towards the back, and I'm going to weave it on the back here. Alright, now go ahead and work this one here. Now we have finished making our reusable cotton face scrubby or makeup remover pad. And they're so easy to make, and you can just come up with different color combinations. You can either make every single one in a different solid color, or you can do like I did some color changes on some of the pads. And whenever I make face scrubbies to give as a gift, I always like to make a set of at least 6 or more of the scrubbies. And then of course it's always nice to make a matching washcloth to go with the set. I made these 2 to go with the set. Next tutorial I'm going to show you how to make the matching washcloth. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial today. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and like the video, and I want to thank you for watching today, and have a great day.